In this Tackle Tuesday video, I'm going to show you guys the rigging of my new boat. Mainly how I rigged the trolling motor and how I rigged a fish finder. I'm also going to show you guys some things that I found out about this boat and talk about other things I'm going to do in the future. Hopefully some of you can learn something from this rigging video. Now the trolling motor that I got for this boat is a Terrova. And that's because I couldn't find a cheap enough Ulterra for sale in the used market. My last Ulterra cost me about half the price of a new one. And if I wanted to get a new one, I probably wouldn't be able to find one. I know I couldn't find a Terrova when I was looking at new Terrovas. This is a used Terrova that's literally brand new. The guy that sold it to me said he only used it once or twice, and he got rid of it because it goes over the edge of the boat right here. His boat cover couldn't fit his Ranger boat. The Terrova is basically an Ulterra without that extra motor that allows it to be deployed and stowed by a push of a button. So I have to manually deploy this myself. Now when you're looking at used Minn Kota trolling motors, especially Terrovas and Ulterras, there is something you have to look for. If this will show up on camera, it is kind of dark over here. You need to find one with that Bluetooth icon. The Bluetooth icon represents the newer head on these units. The older ones without the Bluetooth icon have a 5-foot drift. That means it will drift 5 feet before it tries to correct itself when it's spot locked. And that's the primary reason why I buy these trolling motors, is for the spot lock. I know that Ulterra is nice with doing everything with the remote. However, spot lock is king. Being able to pick a spot, drop the trolling motor and just lock there, throw out all your rods and reels and fish for catfish is awesome. Except for when you're drifting back and forth 5 feet or more. You have to remember, GPS alone has its own drift. We know how accurate it can be sometimes when just getting directions to go somewhere in a car. Now with the Bluetooth icon, it has a drift of 4 inches. So if it moves 4 inches, it tries to correct itself back. And that's 4 inches from the GPS lock. So you're dealing with 4 inches of the trolling motor and whatever the drift is for GPS satellites. So as is, it's a lot more accurate if you get one with a Bluetooth icon. Which is a newer one, which means you're going to be paying more money. I've seen old Terrovas sell for as low as $400 or $500. This one was just a little bit more than that. Now for the rigging of this, the boat came with an actual plug, and it's one of these types. I'll probably change this out for an official Minn Kota at some point, but I'm going to use what I have. I just spliced them together and then put the waterproof rubber on it. Use heat to shrink them. It's just shrink wrap, and I did it multiple times. You got the actual connector that melts. I've got the extra rubber I added, and then I put rubber over the rubber, making it as solid as possible. Hopefully it won't fail. I haven't had one fail yet on me. And this looks a lot better than the one that was on my Pro Cat. Really bad looking connection. But it worked, and it never overheated. And I took the panel off, obviously, so I could get underneath to put screws in. Now what I always do with these trolling motors, with the Minn Kota, I love getting the quick release bracket. It makes installing the trolling motor so much easier. Getting to the screws on the trolling motor itself is really, really hard to do. And because of this bracket, it comes in 2 pieces. So I could put the trolling motor on its side and put that bracket on, and then move the trolling motor out of the way completely so I can put the bottom bracket mounted to the deck of the boat. Now one thing I found with G3, or at least from some comments I've seen with people, this deck is not that strong. If I put a 112 on here, it would probably crack the deck, which would also require 3 batteries. This one is an 80 pound and it may still stress the deck, so I'm going to have to watch it closely. If I go up to a 112, or if I put a heavier Ulterra on there, because all the extra parts on the Ulterra makes it a heavy trolling motor, I might have to reinforce this deck somehow. Put a plate on it or something to reinforce the deck if I decide to do an Ulterra in the future. Which I really do want to do. I like the Ulterra a lot. And the bracket actually comes with all the screws and bolts that you need. So you just drill the holes like it says. Make sure that it's over so the shaft is 1.5 inches, I think, away from the edge of the boat. And put it together. It's pretty simple. The hardest part is reaching through this hole to put the nuts on the bottom of the bolts. And I had another small problem happen here where the twisty they put here, the lock, I couldn't get it on because of the light mount. And taking this light mount out is impossible because I think they've glued it down. I tried taking it off, I couldn't do it. So I put a 1/4 nut in there with a lock washer that I had on hand. It should be fine. I'm going to also put a lock on this, which will help reinforce keeping it in place. Now, another thing I didn't really mention about this trolling motor, I'm hoping it's not too short. Usually I get 60-inch shaft trolling motors, even on the smaller boats. But when I bought this, I didn't actually look at the shaft, and I think it's a 45 or a 52-inch shaft, so it's kind of shorter than what I like. G3 does list 45-inch trolling motors as accessories you can buy for this boat, so maybe it will work. I'll have to get it in the water to see how it works out for me. I live on the back of the boat, so it's highly likely it's going to pull the trolling motor out of the water. And that leads to one of my first future items is to get pods on the back. It is a heavy, really high motor. If I put pods on the back, it would help stabilize the boat all the way from the back to the front. Less likely for the trolling motor to come out of the water, and the boat overall will become more stable to walk around on. I've already had the boat out on the water, and it is a little bit less stable than my ProCat. For obvious reasons, it is a smaller boat. Now, before I show you the batteries, how I got them configured for this, and the charger, and the fish finder, I want to show you something that I discovered that I thought was really cool. G3 did something that I know other manufacturers don't do. This is a 12-volt plug, and it goes to the console. So I could use this for a fish finder, or I could use this for lights. Which I'll probably use this for lights because I added a switch on that side to make sure that this isn't on all the time, so I can switch this on and off. And here is the switch. This doesn't work unless the main power is on, so I got to turn the main power on, and then I switch it, and now that wire up front is live. And this is a lighted switch, which I don't have a wire to it yet to power the light. It's on and off, but it has 3 prongs on the back. One prong is in, one prong is out, and the third prong is for the light on the switch itself. Once I got that together, this will indicate that, you know, my lights are on, so I can turn it off if needed. Now, I took the plastic out of this because I thought I was going to have to run a wire here. I did that before I discovered that wire up there. So I got to see the inside of the boat a little bit, and they've got like loose foam in it, at least in this area. And on the back of those is just a complete metal wall, and on this side is a complete metal wall, which made it a really good idea to actually do that because I was able to bolt in my charger. This is going to be a little bit harder to show you guys, but I bolted in a 2-bank charger back there. I was thinking about doing a 3-bank charger and getting an extension and running it to the back, but man, routing that transducer line was hard. And I really don't want anything with electricity to be with my transducer line where that blue string is coming out. It's a 24-volt system, so you have 2 batteries. You got to have 2 12-volt batteries for that. So I got them rigged up with a 60-amp breaker. The battery trays were not rigged like this. I moved them around like this so I could put in the charger back there. With a 24-volt system, you got to put the positive to the negative, or the negative to the positive. And then you put the positive lead of the trolling motor to the positive lead of one battery, and then the negative lead to the other battery. And as you guys see here, I got a problem I have to deal with. The positive on the breaker is too close to the negative on the battery, and the cord was too short to mount it on the wall, so I mounted it on the battery with a zip tie. So I have to put electrical tape or something over there to keep me from accidentally crossing that lead there. Now, as you can see, I rigged the transducer wire for the fish finder through the provided hose. And what I used was a vacuum cleaner to suck the string through. And when I pulled the transducer line through, I also pulled another piece of string, just in case I need to rig something else through here, or put a different transducer on. That goes back here to the back of the boat. Comes out right there. You can see the blue string and the transducer cable. going over the very tall transom down there to the transducer that I mounted. I think I got it right. Let me show you how the transducer is mounted. I did drill into my transom a little bit and put some silicone just to route the wire properly. But thankfully they have this transducer bracket. It helps a lot. Transducers can be really tricky to mount. And my general rule, and I think it says even in the Minn Kota thing, that you want it like right down the center of the bottom. So you can see the bottom of the boat is almost the center of the transducer. It's really close. The transducer may be just a tad bit too low. They show it with wavy lines right along the middle of the transducer. So I got it close. It's not perfect. We'll just have to see how this works. Now another problem I had was I could not use a ram mount on here because the transducer line is not long enough to go to a ram mount. So I had to use the included bracket, and I drilled the hole underneath the bracket so the wires go underneath the bracket and through that pipe. And amazingly, there is a fuse block in here. That fuse block, that's where I bypassed the front wire to put the switch in and where I hooked up the fish finder. My Pro Cat, which is worth about $15,000 more than this boat, did not have a fuse block. It's something that I had to put into that boat, but I didn't have to on this one. Good job, G3. Another thing I want to do in the future, I want to remove this plastic console right here and just put a black piece of plastic on this whole top here. I saw someone else do that and it gives a lot of room. All I'd have to do is relocate my gas meter and I could put it right there. I may get a digital Yamaha RPM gauge and put below it as well. I think it's called a command link RPM gauge, and it also tracks the engine hours, which you need that for doing maintenance of your motor. And as you guys see back here, I have no rod holders yet. Although this box right here is full of monster rod holders. I am waiting on a multi-bar to come in. And then I'm probably going to put it in the corners right there and over there. And hope what happened to Top Knox Fishing doesn't happen to me where it breaks the corners. But these corners are pretty solid. They're welded on there really good. I still have to mount my fire extinguisher too. And get all this clutter off the boat and get it back together and get it on the water to see if I could catch a big catfish. I almost said flathead, which I think is what I'm going to go for first, is a big flathead. I love flatheads and I'd love to catch a big flathead in this as the first fish. We will see what happens. Well, YouTuber life. I just bent a leg on my tripod. Oh well. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really am excited to get this out on the water and see if I can get some big catfish in it. And I'd love to take some of you as well. My website, fishingwithbilly.com, is now updated with prices and contact information and everything. So if you want to go fishing with me, just let me know. Go to the website or send me an email at billy@fishingwithbilly.com. Or you can just watch this channel. I try to take you guys fishing on a weekly basis. And please, hit that thumbs up if you like this video. I do have some more Tackle Tuesday videos on their way, so this series isn't done just quite yet. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you next time.